Welcome to the Level 1 Walkthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Tony, along with my companion, Big Boss.
The colorless deep fog slowly creeps beyond
What's happening?
Borders.
Something's taking over the podcast.
Humankind faces a slow and steady extinction.
What is this?
Oh no.
The deep fog will eventually swallow all lands near and far.
God.
But Boletaria has one final hope. A lone warrior who has braved the baneful fog.
Who is this old lady?
Has the land found its savior? Or have the demons found a new slave?
Are you that lone warrior, or have they found that new slave? Now, what do you say to that, sir?
I am fucking ecstatic.
Ecstatic about playing Demon Souls again, or for me playing it?
Well, look, now I'm gonna replay it because you're playing it now. So now I'm gonna take a break for Resident Evil and just go back and play Demon Souls again. So thanks for the itch. Now I got back.
Of course. Now this podcast is gonna be very, very special. This is going to be all about Demon Souls specifically. So we're going to jump right into the actual talking about the game. I've just started playing the game. I'm about like 3 hours in. So we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah, man. I mean, like that's kind of what, when I first got that game and I really want to try out, because again, the only kind of Souls-like game I was playing was like Bloodborne, and then I started playing like Dark Souls a little bit to try to get, in anticipation for it. But like this one, for whatever reason, fucking hooked me real hard, man. It was just, it's such visually, you can get into that. Start from the beginning.
Okay. Well, first of all, I mean, it's been a long time since I've played this game. It's been long enough for me to actually kind of forget all the little things about the actual game. I had a little bit of experience with it. I did not actually end up finishing it because I was kind of testing out that game, because I know that I obviously being late to the game from software games, and with Bloodborne being my real kind of intro into these type of permadeath type of games, dungeon crawlers, parry melee type of games. So after I finished playing through Bloodborne, I was hooked, and I started going back. And Demon Souls was the one that was just in the beginning just notorious for just being so damn difficult, and that's what basically kicked off everything. So it got everybody into that, where it treated the player like they weren't stupid. It didn't hold your hand. It did all the things that are pretty much like standard nowadays, because it's just a matter of like guiding the character down one path to another, and it's like a chore list. So these type of games have been like obviously been used with other type of games, inspired by, and it's a hard type of game to play, because they're not traditional. And getting away from that, being non-traditional type of games, really lends you into the playing as a character. But I haven't played I mean, when Demon's Soul came out, I played it. I didn't finish it, like I said, but I kind of started playing the other ones, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, like I ended up going through all those, and I loved all of those. They're all different. But man, coming into this game from that and seeing what Blue Point did with this game, and I honestly feel like this is a brand new game. I'm looking at this game, and the first thing I thought of, and I actually told you off mic when we were kind of getting some barriers or some guidelines of like what I wanted to talk about.
Right.
I talked about, remember that FromSoft game, or not FromSoft, it's a Square Enix game that was premiered on E3 years and years ago that never came about.
Yeah.
Where it was like a dungeon crawler, the guy had a shield, and a dragon just all of a sudden just in this little corridor shot like it's flame at him, and then he just blocked it with the shield. That's the first thing I thought of with this game. I was like, fuck, that's what I wanted. And now you're getting that with this game. I mean, the level of detail is just unbelievable, man. I mean, a lot of these games, especially the character model, when you're just selecting your characters to what they look like, to whatever you want it to be. Normally, when you do that, it's kind of a waste of time because you don't see your character's face at all. This one, I was amazed, dude, because I'm glad I actually did what I did with my character, because I have this, like, he's got a little bit of a goatee, he's got long hair, or is it like in a ponytail, kind of like, looks like a samurai, and then his face, he's got these white, kind of like a warrior kind of thing over his eyes, and it's real white, and it's he's got green eyes, like real like kind of real light, like kind of like I guess it would be just kind of like an emerald type of color, and it's oh man, you can see that actual face on the character with the helmet on. You can see it through the eyes, and I was just like, holy shit! When the fuck do I remember actually seeing my character in any of these games? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm already blown away by that, and the things to get you into the game. Obviously, it ties you right into what a company can do with this game, and not changing the fundamentals of it, and just improving onto it and making it feel like it's a brand new game, even though it's taken the actual mechanics from an older game and have basically kind of like, I don't know, it would be like a remastering of such a well-polished game to begin with. And dude, I'm so glad that I'm playing this game again. It's hooked me already. I'm really at awe at like the lighting, the way that you can see the characters, the animation on the enemies' faces, the light that just bounces off of them when you can see them at distance. It doesn't feel like so kind of like real dark and just like mysterious. It feels like you have all this breath of air all around you that you can see, like it's all just vibrant with life, and the way the lighting just bounces, it's fucking awesome, man.
I feel like you can appreciate it a lot more than I would say me, only because I've never played the original, during that time. So I feel like, you're able to kind of go back and be like, oh, fuck, look how great this looked. Yeah, it was a long time ago that you've, played the original, but at the very least, you can kind of compare and contrast it, like, oh, fuck, they did this and that. And the game, despite me not playing the original, it looks gorgeous, from the gate anyway. So I understand, but you can have that, you have that eye of like looking at, textures and this and that and enemy characters or your main character, and the way that they kind of, helped everything with all the detail that they put in this game. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah, man. It like I said, like playing this game, it feels like it's just brand new. And I wish I would have actually started playing this once I actually had everything, got myself set up. But the Switch was something I had never experienced before, and the games that I had, I just kind of like threw myself into playing those, because it's just such a different type of games that I can be able to play, and the
experience.
The portability of it was just incredible. But oh my god, man, it's like looking at this, I'm just like, watching this all this time of us talking about, and sorry, spoilers of wherever you are in this game if you haven't played it. This entire podcast, if you haven't already noticed, is just going to be about this game. And I'm not that far into it right now. Like I've put in about maybe 3.5 hours. There are some things that are bringing me back into those things that annoy me, where an enemy will kill you, and that's the only thing I think of, is to be able to make sure I can be able to take down that enemy. And it tests you on your skills. It makes me have to kind of rework the way that I normally would do combat before with all the other games, because this one in particular is not geared around so much about rolling and dodging out of the way. It's more of just you're using your shield, utilizing it, and also parrying when you need to, and blocking, so you can be able to open it up and get them with counters, and you can be able to do your lunge attacks, and you can be able to get them down. So you have to like learn all those things kind of over again. So
yeah, and I think that I think it depends on how you play, because a lot of people, like when I first started playing this game to look up like tips and everything like that, people were like, make sure you're not too heavy, you're skinny roll and not fat roll, and you start learning those terms as you start playing this game. But I never really was like a player like that. and again, this is, a different type of game that I wasn't really used to.
Right.
So I was trying to wrap my head around, but I'm not that type of person where I roll all the time unless I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I'll do it sometimes if like I'm trying to go around and backstab somebody, but for the most part, I wasn't like super heavy, but I was like in a medium spot, so I have a little bit more of agility because I think you picked out a similar build as me, or you're gonna start building out your character since you're still in the beginning, but. I picked a knight, and I'm a melee kid. Like that's what I like to do. Now, granted, I beat this game 3 or so times, maybe almost 4. But I have a second character that I chose to do a magic character to roll that because it's going to be something different. I also heard that if you do play a magic character, it's a lot more easy to beat the game on some of the bosses because you're just, you're standing from afar and you're just
Right, you're keeping a
watching all this
distance.
shit. So it's not as fun. So that's why I kind of wanted to do the knight first, and that's the type of player I am. Like again, shield, block, roll if you need to get backstabs and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's exactly what I picked. My character is the knight, and ordinarily I would do that. Or sometimes I would pick the wanderer, just because it has a little bit more where you can be able to have, from what I remember, your chances of being able to get stuff is a little bit, your odds of finding stuff, special items and stuff like that are a little higher. And he's kind of a little bit more well balanced. But for me, I love the intimacy of each of these fights, and the fact that like when you're fighting, the blood stays on you, and it kind of like it spreads around the actual shield, around your body, around them as well. It's like the little things that they did with Bloodborne. Like if you stayed in that game and you didn't go back and then be able to go back to the main hub, when you didn't do that, your character would just have all this excess amount of blood on them all the time, and it would stay on there, and it would just get thicker, and you can just tell that your character is just going through this, and it made you feel like real like gross, because that game is just, it's got so many like just disgusting things within it. It's like almost looking on the insides of like what a disease looks like when like you open it up, or like some sort of fungus that opens, and it's just riddled with it's just gross. And that's how that game was. This one, when you're fighting and you have the actual blood kind of like spread around your character, it's fucking awesome because it stays on the actual armor itself, and there's little like pieces of it that stay on it. So it's like it goes away, but then it comes back. The more amount of enemies you encounter, you get all that. And especially when you fight a boss, when you start swiping at them, blood splatters around them because you're attacking them. So the things within this game are just, it's so fascinating how a studio can be able to take this game and build upon something and make it feel like it's fresh and new. And I just wish I would have been able to go into this game when it first started, because I feel like I neglected this type of game, and this amount of like the people that are behind this, that made this game possible from the beginning, but also the Blue Point for what they've done. I'm just at awe. I mean, you see where they're at the top of their game to be able to take on this big juggernaut of a game, or just a series alone, to kind of like say, hey, we're going to make this game now. And I remember we had watched an actual interview of what they were talking about, and they went through it extensively. They went through I think several months within maybe the first year, and just learning everything within the actual game itself, the mechanics, everything.
Right.
And then they started piecing all that together. So it's just like the level of love that they have for this game, and the amount of respect that they have with it, is just unreal, man. It's unreal.
Well, that's the thing is like, if it was a different studio, you would be worried because, they might piss the fans off, or, they might do something wrong or change too much or not enough. And, they are masters at remastering games.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. They handled so many different franchises, whether it was like, the Metal Gear, collection that they did, or if it was Shadow of the Colossus, or there was so many different franchises that they had to be careful with to stay true to the source material and not change too much, but make it, a difference enough for people to pick it up, and it was, worthy of a purchase, and, it's a testament because like I picked this game up on, launch. It was one of the original launch games, and I was playing it and I enjoyed it. I remember talking about it on the podcast for so many times because this is all I'm playing and beating it so many times and just like getting into it. I just, I was talking so much about like, wanting to build out my character and then, spending my times grinding in certain areas just so I can get more. So there's just so much to this game, and this is something that, again, I didn't play the original, so it's something completely new to me no matter what. But I just enjoyed everything they did with this. But I did want to ask you, when you did start your character, do you remember which gift you chose, like the free gift that you had at the beginning?
I picked the ring.
Okay, so you did do the ring. Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask because out of all of them, even though I didn't really know too much about all of like what I should be looking for, but the only one that made sense was the ring for the item discovery. I think it's providential ring or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that just made more sense. Everything else I knew that you could potentially be able to get them, and there wasn't one thing where I'm just like, well, I don't need the souls to be able to get that because I know that I'm going to get it. Like I mean, for someone that doesn't know, I mean, you kind of have to look at like what makes more sense. And I mean, the real big thing about this game is that it gives you the ability to be able to make your character your own, and in such a unique way, because this game is all about you trying to get through all these challenges that this game will throw at you. And it makes you actually feel like you're really making those monumental steps every single time. And this one, it's funny because I love actually taking my time and walking. I'm not one of those players that runs a lot, because I learned my lesson with Bloodborne, where if you do that, you're more likely going to die because you're going to have a character that's going to come up behind you that's going to try to ambush you. So I'm always hyper aware, and you got that level of paranoia within this game because you have to. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You don't know if they, obviously if you've played the game, the original, and then coming to this, you'll be able to find certain things that you remember, but there's always little things that they can add in there which you're not going to expect. So there's other things that are probably in this game that are completely different than it was from the original, but it still kept itself true to the design itself within the levels. So
yeah, I think
I'm that type of player.
Yeah, and I think from what I remember in that interview that we watched was they did, and I didn't understand at the time because again I never played the original, because they were talking about how many herbs you can carry or something like that, and then they said that they added a way to send back any items that you've had. If you were like overburdened, you can send it back instead of being stuck with, oh, I want to pick up this item and I can't. So those like kind of life changes that they did, where it would make sense, like, hey, why can't I do that? That's like bullshit. And granted, I'm sure when they came out with, the original title and years went by, they're like, fuck, I should have did that. Or, oh, I should have added this. Or I should have, improved that. But they were able to do it because they knew, like how game mechanics are supposed to work nowadays. And what that's what I meant. Quality of life, not, But that's what they started to do is add more mechanics that made sense and that added to that that type of style and what we're used to, So
yes, it's really cool because the game itself, while you're actually playing it, you kind of, for me, I kind of start to forget, like, remember playing it before, and I'm just locked into this one because it really makes. It makes it feel like the next generation Demon Souls. It's incredible. Like I would love a game to be this well polished with the next version. Like Bloodborne was the closest to that because obviously it was playing on the most current generations when it came out. But I can only imagine what Bloodborne 2 is going to look like when that comes out. Like how incredibly like one-to-one detailed it's going to be, where it's going to just the scaling of it is going to be unreal. So we're not going to, I don't even know like what to expect, because this one is just, it's done such a good job of just revamping this whole idea of this game and just making it feel like it's brand new all over again, and working with the mechanics, working with the animation, and even like the character build, like the profile that you can be able to create, and the different type of facial animations that you can be able to put in there, like you can put tattoos. Obviously they've had stuff like that before, but they even give you an ability to change your walk. So there's two methods of walking that you can do when you first get your player, and you can choose that. And it's just like these small little things that they put in there, and it's like they didn't have to do that, but they did that because that's the things that you're going to see the most. This is personalized to whatever you want it to be. And the character, yeah, you don't have to do anything special with them, but the fact that you can even see the character's face, and you can see all that time that you took to be able to make this character, it's there. It's not going to go away. So it's just, I don't know, man. Like I wish I would have played this game, but I'm kind of glad that I'm getting back into it, because it's giving me that itch again, that itch of like telling you, oh yeah, you want to try to be able to beat this guy? Let's see if you remember what we're teaching you, and let's see if you're paying attention to like what items we're giving you, so that can lead towards whatever boss you're going to encounter. And oh yeah, by the way, when you die and you come back, when you die and you go into the underworld, which is like kind of like what they call the NEXUS. Oh, by the way, your health is going to be depleted a short amount because of that. So we're going to not only take all those things away from you, but we're also going to take this away from you too. So it's like all these little things within it. It's just I'm having it's just a flashback into all these other games that I remember just playing in, and I feel like it's a perfect time to play. It's a perfect time to kind of put these on our YouTube channel, but also more importantly to be able to stream this, because this game is just it wants you to have that interaction with other people. It wants that kind of feedback, because you're kind of all by yourself and lonely, and you're trekking through all this, and it's always very dark, and it's like everything is like against you, and you want to have some sort of companion or some sort of like people with you to kind of be at your corner, because there's nobody in your corner in this game. Everyone's against you.
And I remember when I was watching a streamer, and typically I don't normally, follow or watch people like play games too much. But I was following somebody, and they were going through like, I think it was the original maybe it was Dark Souls 2 first. I can't remember, it was 3 or 2.
Okay.
But he was playing that, and it was so fun, because it's one of those streamable games where you have a lot of people on there, like not necessarily telling you what to do, but kind of giving you some tips maybe, or maybe like just trying to give you more backstory or lore, or it's a fine balance. It's one of those things where you don't want to have people tell you what to do, because you're like, oh, let me figure out myself. But at the same time, so there was like a weird balance that he had to kind of implement as far as the rules go. He's like, don't tell me what to do, but if I ask for help, then tell me. And but it's definitely one of those games where it's interesting, where if someone else has already beaten it or played it or is a master of it, and they see somebody playing it for the first time, you can kind of like see, like that's why I was telling you, like I can't wait to watch you play, because I'm wondering how you approach certain situations, as opposed to how I approach things. Right. But kind of going back to the cool thing that I think that I don't know if it was in the original game, but there is like a statue of reflection that they have in the Nexus, where if you do want to change your character, there's like I think you have to pay like 25,000 souls to kind of like edit your character a little bit. So if you wanted to change the person's the way that person looks, or female to male and so forth, so you still have that option. Because at first I forget what I chose in the beginning in the way that he looked, or I think I picked a female actually at first, and then I was like, oh, I don't like the hairstyle or something. I was like, I wish you can change it. And I looked it up. I'm like, oh, so there is. It's just like in the beginning, of course, I didn't change it because it was such a hefty price to pay. It was like 25,000. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But later down the line, I'm like, oh, I have plenty. That's like chump change to me. So I ended up going through. I did have a question about how did you like the way that the original, I don't know what that, the first boss you encounter essentially, which you're supposed to die in, the fat one.
Right. Right.
What did you think about the way he looked?
Oh, he looked fucking
awesome,
scary,
right?
man. He looked fucking scary as hell.
Looked crazy as shit.
I mean, with his eyes like just glowing and the smoke coming out of his actual eyes, it's almost as if it was burning out of his actual face. And it was fucking awesome. And it's crazy too because when you go through the fog, it's seamless. There's no like with all the other ones. There's a little bit of a pause before it goes in there, but this one really feels because obviously the power of the actual engine can be able to do that. So it makes it feel like you're actually entering, and it's just a seamless process. It's not
that
like
SSD.
Yeah, man. It's just, you could definitely tell the difference.
It's
There's
so
no
funny
pause.
we're talking shit so much about loading times, but I'm getting used to it, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I think looking back, it was not a feature of the new consoles where I'm like, oh, sign me up for that. I think it's nice, but it wasn't something that I was like, oh, that's next gen kind of thing. But as I'm playing all these next gen games,
Right.
I forget that there's no loading times. Like with Resident Evil Village, there is none. Like unless you like die and come back, you jump back in. But like as you're traversing through it's like all one seamless level. Like it's so weird. But again, it's something that I haven't even. The only reason why I bring that up because I was listening to Sacred Symbols podcast today, and Colin was talking about that. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize there wasn't because I didn't pay attention to it. I don't like, and then he mentioned something, and I'm like, oh fuck, there isn't. So as time goes on, like with Demon Souls, yeah, there's a little bit of a load time if you're talking about like after death, but for the most part, it's so seamless. Like you go through that fog, what you're expecting. A loading time like the original,
or just a little bit. It's a little bit of a disconnect, but it's not a lot. But it's enough for you to be able to notice. And then this one is just it throws you right into it. And obviously, it's like the first enemy, just like how it is in Bloodborne. You're supposed to die to the first, but that one's just a regular enemy, and that one just is one of those werewolves that just kills you. And it's supposed to.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a regular enemy. It's the first enemy that you encounter. You're supposed to die to it.
Well, it's so big that I thought it was like a boss anyway.
I know. Well, you didn't know. I mean, you thought it would be or anything. But out of all the things to really kind of sit back and actually enjoy this game, the fact that they added cutscenes within the game, and you can see the characters, the allies that you encounter, some of the thieves that you encounter as well. I fucking love that you can see their face. I love that they're talking and they're looking directly at you. And like even like the blacksmith, I love the way that he looks with his fucking hammer, and he's got that little. There's something on his left arm. It looks like it's like a metal like armor thing or something, or maybe he's missing his arm or something. But the way he's just talking and he's looking at you and has these little small little like I think they're like reading glasses. He just looks fucking so cool to look at, and that's one of the things that they don't have in the other ones. It's just it's the characters don't move their mouths and they just look at you and then they just talk. So I mean you've kind of had to play that within all the games, but this one, they have that. They have these actual cutscenes where the characters will look at you and you can see them talking to you. And it's like, it gives you a bigger level of immersion within the game, which is things that I've missed. I've wanted all those things, and now it's giving you all those extra things too on top of it. So I don't know, man. I'm hooked. And, going through the Nexus itself is just looking at all the things that you can be able to do within that, and the way that hub is set up. It's so massive, but then once you start playing the game further, you see it get populated with more of the actual allies that you have and everything like that. It's just I'm so hooked into this thing, man. And it's one of those things that I look back and I'm like, man, it's such an astonishment to be able to have people that are making these type of games that you can have another studio touch and actually work on, and they can be able to improve on that level, that same level, but give it something of their own, but also treat it with that respect. How often can you see that? Because when I played Shadow of the Colossus, playing it on Blue Point's version, it's great. It is fucking awesome. I love the way that they moved the actual camera back to where it felt like it was chasing your character. And I love the way that it kind of pulled down a little and it would follow you. And this one actually does that too, where your character has a little bit, the camera is more of like an action kind of like a movement with it. So it kind of like steadily moves along with you. So it's like a action camera itself. So it's so cool to see all this stuff. And I'm at a loss of words within this, because if people don't play these type of games, you may not understand what it is that we're talking about. But if you really want a game that does not hold your hand and treats you like, it treats you with respect, but it also tells you, you have to put in the time to try to beat this game if you want to. And taking down these big bosses and these enemies and these characters that are all against you, there's something about it that just kind of like, I don't know, there's something about it that just makes you want to just get right back into it, because it's you against all of them. And it's all about you wanting to see how far you can take yourself. So I think out of all the things I wish they would have had, the only thing I wish they would have really been able to do is have your armor have damage and actually show the damage on there. When you start getting taken down so often and your helmet gets hit so many times, like maybe like lacerations on the actual helmet can be seen, or like scratches and shit like that, where it's all polished and clean when you first get it, but just like your character, they change. I really wish they would have had that, where like, maybe your shoulder armor would be broken in some spots, or maybe when an enemy grabs you and pulls and breaks it, maybe they break parts of your armor off and you have to find another one, or you have to find other pieces or repair it. You know what I mean? Like, that would just be another level of it, because they do that with the weapons itself, where they have a certain amount of wear that you can use until they break. But I really wish they would have taken that level of showing all that journey on your character, where you see the armor or whatever you have on you being broken, because you're constantly being attacked. You're constantly fending yourself off against all of these different types of enemy foes, or like even the ones that have fire, like maybe even like like little pieces of ash that's like burn marks that are on you, or maybe burn marks that are on your armor or something like that. I wish they had something like that, and that would just be another layer to this. And maybe the next generations will have that. These current generations, who knows? But this just gives you another. It gives you more within this character, within this lore. But it would give you just another addition to it. Like if you had a point to sit and rest and like put your knee down and just rest, kind of like in Unto the End, where your character, after he'd be finished in battle, he'd be exhausted, he'd fall down and he'd fall down into his knees and drop his sword, and he'd just be fucking exhausted, because you basically have given everything else and you could have easily died. But it doesn't have that within this game. Like, you don't rest like that. But I'm just saying, those little touches like that, I really wish they would have had. But that's just a small thing, man. It's small, not even a nitpick, but just a something on top of this great game. I'm enjoying every moment of it. And when you and I started talking about it and started telling you about it, you started to go into like details of like some things that I was doing, things that you wanted to help me with, and you couldn't stop yourself.
No, dude. I think on that call, I think it was like an hour.
Yeah.
Of me just going on and on and on. But just to kind of backtrack a little bit, I do enjoy the characters of this game. The fact that, again, I didn't know if the original had any kind of voice acting. I'm not sure if it did, but with these like specific characters, the voice acting in this game is so good. Like, I love the Made in the Black, the world might be bended. The world might be mended. I love that. I keep repeating that stuff every time I'm like playing and hearing it. And, Patch is the hyena that's in there, which you'll come across. Again, the way that he is a smirky asshole, like just the way he sounds and all of that. And, to your point, where it's like a small little additive thing that they could have maybe done, but it probably would have took too long with the armor and the scratching and stuff. I feel like, just like you said, I think it's going to take a generation or two actually to get to that point. Not to necessarily say it's going to take that long for developers to get that detailed. I think it's going to take that long to get to the point where we can do it with our programs automatically without having to spend a lot more time doing it, if that makes sense. Because like a long time ago, to animate something took fucking forever. Now it's shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things where technology catches up with what we want to do in a faster pace, so that we can add all those different types of things without having to take 10 years to make a game.
Right.
It'll still be like 5 years, but we have more tools like Unreal Engine to kind of take care of that stuff that they're doing with, you know, what was that demo? It was the one that they were showing all the different kinds of ways you can create the world around you, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of create this world like seamlessly and automatically generate, you know, lighting, this and rocks, and that didn't happen like 10 years ago. Someone had to do that themselves.
Yeah, like that was the showcase for the Unreal Engine 5, what it can be able to do, and how the lighting can be not directional, where it just illuminates. And that's like the biggest thing that they were talking about, was lighting, where it just reflects automatically, and you can place it wherever you want, and it's all based on, it's real lighting, real time lighting. So when you move it, it actually will just, based on what it is, and it showed like a bunch of rocks in a cave. It was like showing a little bit of light that was coming out of a cave, and it was kind of like the lighting was just kind of glimmering onto the actual rocks, and they moved it, and you could just easily make that. And like how Death Stranding had that, where you can see that vast amount of distance within the actual levels itself, like how vast and open it was with that type of landscape. But with that type of engine, they can do that. It can throw all that at you, and you can be able to see, if you wanted to actually go into full detail, you can see the individual rocks, the little breakage of them, and you can see little pieces of them. So it's like that attention to detail is all there now. And making games like this, you can do all those things. Like now, especially when the Unreal 5 engine is available for developers, for people that are making games, like as far as like what I want to do, being able to get my hands on it and actually start playing that thing and start actually building within that. That's their whole thing, is that it can build like these huge vast worlds very quickly, and that you can be able to just populate it. So it's like, it's giving people that are maybe, you know, amateur developers, or people that have been doing it for a long time, that are, you know, independent developers, or even people like myself that are trying to do it themselves. It gives you more tools than you ever had before that was ever possible. And for something like this game, if this was open world, I mean, it already is to a point. I mean, it's linear, but it's got so many branching like levels within that, where you can go up. There's like parts where you can go down. It's everywhere within the level. So you can traverse vertically everywhere you want to. However, if this game was like a journey where you're in an entire world, kind of like I would say like maybe like a Game of Thrones type of world, where you can vast between one point to another, and there's things in between that where you have to like journey. Imagine you having to be able to like, you had your one, like, let's say it's like your one area where you can save, like your bonfire, and the next time you can find another one is going to be maybe 10 miles down the road, or 10 miles down that way, west or whatever. Imagine you have to go through that, and you have to like make sure that you're not going to die, because you don't know what's going to be out there. You're like going out into the unknown. I mean, that's another level, man.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of Skyrim, you know, and I love Skyrim for that, you know. And man, I just wish it's never mind. I was gonna say I wish they would remaster Skyrim, but they've done it.
God.
They've done
it so many times.
There's like
the
PS3 360 version, PS4 version. They've done the PC version. They've done the Switch version. They've done the fucking VR version, and I bought every single one of them except for the VR one, because I don't have a VR, but. I get what you're saying, because like imagine if it was more of an open world and you have to get to those 10 miles to like, let's say the next town that's close, and it reminds me of Game of Thrones in that sense, and you have to survive, and you don't know what's going to be around that corner or through that forest, or you know, this could be this one guy on this carriage, and all of a sudden he's going to try to fucking attack you, and that's why I 100% enjoyed Skyrim so much. It's just random shit that
Yeah.
just happens in your daily traversal. But yeah, so the thing that you mentioned that kind of I remember after playing so many levels of this game is that I just get amazed. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember very many games doing this other than like any kind of the Souls games. Is when you're going through and you're traversing through a level, and then all of a sudden you get to a point where like, holy fuck, I unlocked a shortcut and I'm back at the very beginning of where I started.
Yeah.
But now, because I survived, I have a benefit of having a shortcut where I can go through a certain area and get there quicker without having to do all that bullshit again. And I love that about this game. It just
Yeah.
fucking blows my mind. I'm like, holy shit, I'm back here again? Oh, that's fucking cool. Oh, now I'm back at where I can save. So if I go back to, saves.
None of those games I've ever experienced something like that, where you can open up paths that you can be able to see, that you can know that you can obviously you can see it, and you're just like, I wonder if I can get there. But then you also have other ones that just like ladders that fall down and you could be able to get to. You're like, oh shit, now that's a short path, or I've opened up a gate or something, and it makes it a lot easier. But yeah, I've never experienced anything like that. I've obviously there's games where you can be able to do that where it's like based within like kind of like Metroid games. I remember those
Oh,
because you
yeah,
would have
right.
like you'd have locked areas, but you'd have
Right.
to get to those and unlock them. But in this way, they're just like it's cleverly designed within these 3D levels, so
It's subtle.
you can be able to see all that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely subtle. And the thing that, another thing that kind of fucked with me was when in the very beginning of, not the very beginning, but like the 1-1. So as soon as you start, there's a spot to the left where there's like a locked gate there, and I could never go down there, and I'm like, how, like, and then I ended up beating the game, and I'm like, how do you open this thing, and what's over here? And then I didn't understand how world tendency worked. So you had to have a certain, I think it was pure white, I want to say, pure white world tendency in order for that little spot over there for the gates to open up and you to go through. And it's not just like, oh, I just didn't figure out a different way. Maybe there was a shortcut somewhere. No, now there's types of areas where you can't get through unless you have a certain, you abide by the certain system, whether it's, the world tendency or character tendency. So that's the other layer that affects this entire game in this world. So it's very interesting balancing all those types of things with it. But yeah, I remember when I finally like looked it up and I'm like, how the fuck do I get through this? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I completed the game and then I did some other stuff, it opened up and I'm like, oh, cool. Now I can go down over here. There's this like mini boss kind of person over here. It's like a red, I forget what they call it, like a red knight or something like that. And then I was able to kill her. But it's those types of things where they keep throwing stuff at you, and it's just, it makes me want to learn more about the world. It makes me want to learn more about the game mechanics, and it makes me want to just, build up my character to the point where I could just be unstoppable, and I'm still not. I remember, so I sent you those two videos today through YouTube because when we were talking off mic, I was trying to explain on how to, which I was wrong. It's not 2,000 souls. You get like 8,000 souls when you kill the Red Knight on the bridge of 1-1
Right.
at the top. So I was like, man, I can't find this thing. Let me fucking just record this real quick for Tony. That way he can. I was trying to explain it. I didn't explain it very well. It's very hard to explain how to kill him the way that I do it anyway.
Right.
So I showed you that you kind of pull them and you kind of bring them over to the stairway. That way you can kind of drop them down a little bit and stay up top a level above him, so he can kind of lunge even though he's below you and then fall all the way down to his death. So you can just keep rinsing and repeating by just aggroing him over to that area that you want. But it's stuff like that where now I'm like, cheesing a way to keep, grinding more souls in the easiest way instead of trying to attack, backstab, and all. That's a good, practice. But then if you're spending 10 minutes while this motherfucker is like, oh, let me just heal again, then you're just like, spending 20 or 30 minutes trying to kill him one time, as opposed to where I can do in a half an hour, maybe like 3-4 times, and get all of those souls while somebody's trying to struggle and do
the
that.
easy way.
The easy way.
Well, you can always do it the easy way, but you also do it this way. Like if you're fighting any of these characters and you're trying to you're just trying to kind of grind through and just be able to just, gather as much as you can. You're also having to use your herbs too as well. So you have to heal. You're gonna have to heal yourself. So every time you encounter them, you're gonna have to. It's gonna take some hits. So what do you really want to do? Do you really want to do that, or do you really just want to kind of let it just be the way that it is? Like you want to just try to make it as easy as possible for yourself. So
yeah,
I mean that's how I actually. I mean now that. Kind of thinking about it, and I'm just like, well, that's the enemy that's been giving me the most trouble, is because, I had him down for a good amount of time. Like I depleted like most of like over half of his health, and then all of a sudden he just made that one move, and that was enough for me to die.
Yeah.
But I got so frustrated. I was like, fuck, I want to just go back and take this guy, but also too, you have to get yourself back up to that every single time.
Exactly.
And it's not as easy as just, taking down 2 or 3 enemies and then going back. No, this one is actually really different. Like you have to go through a bunch of enemies. It's not a lot, but it becomes tedious.
Yeah.
So
and until you get to where I'm at, where you saw my video, where I'm just rolling through these motherfuckers.
Right.
Granted, when I first started, because I haven't played the game in like a couple of months, so I was still getting used to shit. As soon as I came out, and I didn't record it because I didn't send it to you because I was embarrassed. But I was like, I came up out of the second. After you beat the first boss, and then run down towards the beginning of the game, there was like 4 enemies there. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Wait, how do I attack again? And they all just started coming at me and attack. Oh, I'm a fuck. So I backed up, and then my health was all the way down. I'm like, I'm not sending this to Tony. I'm
gonna show my shame.
Yeah, you probably were like, when you played it, there was like, oh, there's no enemies there when there's supposed to be enemies. Yeah, that's right, because I recorded after I killed them all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, that's the reason why, because I look like a fucking piece of shit. But yeah, I mean, unless you're at a level where I'm at, where I beat it multiple times, and I still struggle through the game. That's what this game is. It doesn't matter.
That's the point.
How, like, I think it's after the 10th time that you beat it that it doesn't increase any difficulty after that. So I beat it with my main character, I think 3 times, and then I think I have my second character that I beat it once, I want to say. I can't remember exactly, but along those lines, where again, I still have 7 more before it stops getting difficult. That's insane.
Yeah.
When you think about it. But I was able to traverse through. It only took me about, I think the video I sent you was like 4 minutes long. But I mean, of course, when you're in the beginning, it's going to take you a lot longer. You have to get through the enemies at the bottom. There's 1 enemy on the stairs, and then there's like 4 or 5 when you start going up the other stairs. And then there's 1, 2, maybe 1, 2, 3 more as you're heading up towards the top, and then you're dealing with the blue-eyed knight.
That's there, right?
Yeah. So you have to deal with him, and then there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 guards, and then you get to the red-eye dude. So it could take you like a half an hour, and then you fucking die and have to start over.
Do it all over again. Yeah.
Fuck that. That's frustrating as shit. So I found that like cheese thing online, and I just kept repeating that because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get 8,000 souls for maybe 10 minutes of work, and keep doing it and over and over and over again. And I would just kind of say to myself, I'm like, okay, today, my playthrough today is going to be a grinding day. Mm-hmm. So it's not as fun, but I mean, it's something that I'll get to my goal to make myself stronger in order to progress further into this game. That's
right.
That's what you do. I mean, the same thing you do with any kind of RPG. You're grinding Pokemon, you're grinding in Final Fantasy, you're doing all this type of stuff, but it might not be fun and whatever exciting, but it's what you need to do sometimes to get to the point where you start fucking people up.
Yeah, there's one in particular with I believe it was Dark Souls 3. There is one world where you actually, it's one of the armored, it's a bunch of the armored knights that you encounter. Like, you come up from your bonfire, and then there's like a bunch of knights that are like all around you, that are like all dead, and there's a bunch of like just armor around you. And then there's like maybe I think there's like three knights. But every time you'd kill them, they give you like at least like maybe 2,000 souls every time.
Oh yeah.
And then I would just kill them, go back, let them respawn, and then do it again, rinse, repeat. And I think I did that for maybe, geez, I don't even know. I think maybe like 3 hours or something like that, and it was
the same thing.
Well worth it.
Yep.
And then it was so hard not to do it because that one was actually real quick. Like, those are the only enemies I'm encountering. So when you find these ones that you can be able to exploit, they're there for a reason. That's the whole point of it, is that you can choose to see it as it's going to be difficult to go down this area because you're also rewarded. There's also a gate that's locked. So you have to basically take down this enemy in order to get access into that. So once you do, then you can be able to go in there and be able to figure out what's there. And then you can determine if you want to go back there or not. But since you know how to be able to exploit that one character and get him out, then you could be able to use that and then be able to, take on whatever else is out there. So it's a rinse and repeat type of thing with this one, because you have to like allow yourself to take the time. For me, I have a lot of it where it's like because I know these games are constantly telling you that you're a piece of shit. I don't like that. I don't like that they do that, and it's kind of like I want to take this fucker down. Like, even though he's real strong and he only takes like 16 hits every time I hit him, like his energy goes down like 16 or 19 points. It's frustrating, but I also want to beat this guy. But then again, right now I'm not strong enough to be able to do that where I can just take him down with no problem. So
that's the point. So there's a balance, right? And this is the beauty of these types of games, is that you're not supposed to beat him.
Right.
You're not supposed to start out the game and try to attack this dude, because when you play and get to that point, you're like, oh, I'm going to try to beat him up and try to kill him, and I'm going to take him out. You're not supposed to, because he fucks you up almost every single time. Unless you've played this game multiple times and you understand, how to maneuver around this character, you're supposed to die. So what you do is, when they're trying to tell you that you're a piece of shit, you go, oh, hold my beer. I'm going to use the world that they built for me against you.
Right.
So I don't see it as like almost like a cheating move. I use it as, you're dumb enough to fall down some stairs, and
you're following me.
And you're following me. I'm gonna take advantage of that shit. So why not? It's one of those weird meta games where you're like, okay, I'm in this world. I'm gonna use the rules that they gave me.
Right.
And you're following them, but then they cheat, or in your mind they cheat because you're getting your ass beat. So you go, okay, well, fuck you. I'm again use the physics and the way that the world works against you as well. And then I'll just keep rinsing it. And that's the thing. There's one boss in particular. It's supposed to be like the most difficult one, and it's not, to me. I forget what it's called. I'm gonna try to look it up real quick, but I think it's the hell demon thing or whatever.
Okay.
But essentially, I think it didn't take me as many times to defeat him the first time I've ever come across him. But it did take me a while. And I was proud of myself because I'm like, okay, I was able to defeat this enemy without having to like cheese it or do whatever. There's some other ones where they're just complete fucking assholes, and I'm like, God damn it, I wish there was a different way, because it comes to the point where what is it? I think it's maybe 3. I forget, it's Archstone 3 or whatever it is, but oh no, yeah, it's 3, where there's like two bosses basically that eventually show up. But but there's like a fire demon that Flame Liquor. That's the one.
Okay.
That's an asshole. But I put I defeated him, without having to do anything crazy, and I gave myself props. As I went on, and it got more difficult, I started using poison instead. Like, my main character isn't like a magician or anything like that, or any kind of into sorcery, but I did have enough abilities to ramp him up with all the souls that I got, that I was able to do some like basic magic shit. So there is a cheese moment with him specifically that you can do, which I don't give a fuck, I'll do it anyway, which
Right.
you kind of bait him in this corner, and as long as you have, I think there's like a cloak magic spell that you do so he doesn't see you or from too close. And then as he doesn't notice you, you kind of like stands further away, and you kind of creep up from behind him a little bit, and not too close, but then you send your spell of poison on him, and that's all you do. He just starts lowering his health, and he doesn't move.
Huh.
So you keep rinse and repeating, and it takes about 20 minutes or so. But you do that just to kind of get through it. Because again, I beat him before. I know I can beat him, but I'm not going to sit here and fucking throw and break my controller because there's an easier way to defeat him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So once you
Right.
start getting into the mode, some bosses are easier than others. Like
Right.
there's one in 4.1 that I sent you the second video of, where you can kind of do a shortcut. And I don't know if you watched that or not, but I did that role in my like first try in like months that I played this game. I was surprised that I even did it. But the boss is called the Adjudicator. And with that one, if you have like a magic character,
Right.
you're able to just stand at the top
And just get
throw
him.
spells. Yeah.
Right.
And granted, he's not a tough boss at all. Even if you're a melee character, you can go down and fuck him up like very easily. That's kind of disappointing. Some of the bosses are like pretty like basic bitches, but then others are like super difficult. So
Right.
it's like, it's one of those balances about this game that I fucking enjoy, but I feel like it's not cheating. It's not you're putting a cheat code in. It's like you're using the mechanics of the game that are placed upon you, and you're kind of exploiting it.
Right.
You know?
You're kind of like thinking like, hey, will this work if I can be able to do this? And like these characters will follow you. And that's the thing too, is that when you get them and they're in your sights, they'll just keep following you. They'll traverse through the environment as well, but they'll make mistakes, and they'll try to get to you and try to lunge at you, and then they fall in a pit or something. So you can see all those things, or there's like barrels and stuff when they have like the one characters that you encounter that have their sword is on fire. There's some fire like in the stairway where there's a bunch of them. There's like these barrels that can explode when you hit any kind of fire. So you can like exploit that. You could just like throw something and then it just blows up and gets them all at once. So you're using that environment against them, and you're just trying to find a way to make it a little easier for you, because this game is just all against you. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things for me. Like I want to like, I don't have to beat that red knight every single time, but there's something about him that I'm just like, I don't want you to take that away from me. Like the one thing that I really loved about Bloodborne was that when your character got killed by one of the enemies, the blood echoes would stay on sometimes it would stay on the enemy itself that took you down. Right. So you would see their eyes different when they would be glowing with those with your the bloodborne, your blood echoes. So when you have that, it basically you single out that one enemy first, because that's the one that you need, because obviously that's the one that has all your shit. So I love that they incorporated that, because it like singled out that one enemy that took you down. And it's maybe something about like, kind of like your ego is kind of like checked every time about this game. And for me, like, I love that I can be able to make my journey through the game. I walk through everything. I'm slow. I look around. I enjoy all of that because it's so fucking awesome to look at, because the game is just so photorealistic with the actual environments. It makes it feel like you're really journeying through this type of environment. And it's just like, fuck, man, if I was all by myself, like, what would I do in that situation? Like, you really do feel like it's it's all about you trying to be able to figure out if you can be able to get through this or not. So
Well,
I'm enjoying that.
yeah. Well, my thing is this, and people are going to be like, every time you die and someone's pissed off, like, that was fucking bullshit. That's cheating.
Yeah.
Whether you
Yeah.
any kind of fucking game, Call
Right,
of Duty,
right.
this game, whatever.
Sure.
So all of it, right?
Yeah.
Do you fucking, and I'm hypothetical, it's just a fucking computer and AI and all that shit. But
Mm-hmm.
do you fucking think that they sit there and go, yup, I fucking killed Tony, and I fucking got away with it. I know it was bullshit, but I still
Right.
got away with it. You fucking think that they give a shit? You know what I
No,
mean? They just
no.
killed you. That was their goal, and that was their thing. So who gives a fuck? You do the same thing to them. You know what I mean?
Right,
You're just
right.
like, fuck you. I'm trying to get through and survive. I don't give a fuck how it happens.
Right.
Whether in real life, a movie or whatever. I'm trying to survive. I don't give a shit how it happens. I just hope I get through it before this other thing does.
Right, and even that, like most games itself, there would be something that maybe the game the frame rate goes down or something where you look at it, you're like, fuck, what's going on? Like, why did it do that? But
Lag and all
yeah,
that,
or something like that, you can kind of see and you're just like, fuck, why did that happen? But there are some things within this game that aren't exactly all that polished, where the enemies can still hit you beyond the walls, which I mean, you have to get it. You have to.
There you
take
go.
it for what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you
some of
go.
the enemies will actually do that, like the Red Knight did that a couple times, or he actually did it once, and I got him in kind of a corner, where one of the guards is that shoots like a little bow at you, the very last enemy before you get to the Red Knight.
Yeah, that
and
one.
he's in this little corner, and I end up getting the Red Knight in that little spot, and I was just gonna throw firebombs at him and just kill him, but every time he lunged at me with his spear, it would go through the walls, and it got me. And that one was just like, that's kind of cheesy. That sucks.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, well, that's fine. That tactic didn't work. And after listening to what you were telling me, I was like, I want to do that, but then I don't want to.
Well, then
because
do it later.
Exactly. Well, no, that's the thing is that I like the path that they've given, because the path that you keep going through, there's a door that you open that allows you to be able to take down your first official boss, which is the one that's like this slug. That's a bunch of slugs that are holding these shields that throw these huge like spikes at you.
Spears,
and like the big spears, and like they can be able to take you down. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're like all on top of each other, like a mountain, like a big hill of all these slugs, and they're all just like trying to attack you. And there's one center that you're trying to get into. But with any of these games, when you've encountered any of these things, that their weakness is fire. So when you know that, you can exploit it, and then you can be able to take the enemy down a lot faster, and they'll start dying. But there's something gratifying about it. And then when the character dies, you get those souls, you get to keep it, and it's just like that's the best thing about that, is that there's so many times when you've played a game where there's something about it that just keeps you wanting more, and that's exactly what this game does. It makes you want more of this, because it rewards the player for being to explore and to take risks. If you take risks, you'll be able to be rewarded in some way or fashion. But also, if you take the time to look around and assess what you can do and what you see, there's like these little hidden things within this. There's like little treasures that you can be able to find, or these little things that are kind of indicators of like, hey, you might want to keep an eye on this part, that you can look up and you can see something that's there. Try to figure out wherever you are within the level and make sure that that's there, and see if you can be able to get to it. And a lot of times when you figure it out, you're just like, fuck, that's cool. But that's also another thing, you have to be able to be dedicated into playing this. It's a layer of these type of players that you can be able to appreciate what the developers did with this, but also be able to see it as like your ability to be able to withstand all the things that they put in front of you. And yeah, it is difficult. It's a hard game to play. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it at all. It's not. And if it's not your type of game, I understand. But one of the things that you're really kind of missing out on is just what this game really does give you in the long run, because not only are you playing the game, but you're also finding out all these meticulous little things about the game that you never knew about. You can take chances with different classes of enemies that you wanted to be able to utilize where you never did that. Like magic, that was never one that I used, but I would use that later down the line, because the pyromancy was a big thing that I would utilize, because that was a way I can create a little bit of a distance and I can be able to hit you with some fire. But that's what I loved about like Dark Souls. I love that you can do that. I was always the pyromancer was always the one piece of magic that I would use. I wasn't big on having the actual casting spells, but I love the pyromancer where you can do that. But that was the closest thing that I had to those type of like magic. But I would experiment with that. And in this run, I'm doing it with the knight. And my goal of that is just to be able to get up close and personal with these characters, because I want to see what these characters all look like and what they've been able to accomplish with all these huge amount of details within these characters. Like the animations of their facial animation is just crazy good. Like the one that I saw that was like a thief, like this guy that you encounter, that he gives you this, like, you can be able to do some trades with him, buy some stuff from him. He looks like a kind of like a goblin, but he's one of those actual enemies that you're encountering, but I guess he's good. And his skin is like all rubbery and it's kind of veiny around his neck, and he looks like a ghoul. And he's standing on, or like he's kind of crouching on top of this thing, and he looks like he's kind of like what's that? Gollum.
I was gonna say Lord of the Rings. I kept.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
what is his name? I was thinking in my head when you were talking about it. I was like,
yeah, he looks like Gollum, the way
Yeah.
he just kind of like stands on things, and he's kind of like just like perching onto it, and like you can see while he's talking to you, he's like looking at you, and like his face is moving around. It's like, oh, it's like, fucking love this thing. I love all this little pieces within this game that you can be able to do, and it blows my mind on like how you could be able to see this type of franchise, the way that it started and where it's at now, and what they were what they wanted to do and what they stuck with, and look at what it's been able to do. Look what other games it's been able to accomplish with it, and all the other experiences that you've had. They're similar in such a way where you have to be able to play these type of permadeath type of games, but it's also another thing of like, you're being rewarded for the time of you spending, and it's a different type of game because you have to think about all the things that you're doing and explore in such a way where you kind of move a little and then you go back, you move a little and then come back. You barely get into pieces because you don't want to get cocky and start going exploring into the world, and you end up falling into an area that you can't get out of. And now you're screwed, because now if you want to go back to that, you have to do the same thing over again, and you don't have an idea of how to get back. And that's the part they can get really scary with playing these type of games, because if you get cocky, that's exactly what it can do. Like, you're just like, oh, fuck yeah, I can get through anything. But little do you know, you're going to get lost in this world, and now you can't actually get out of it. So you're going to lose all those souls, but more likely you're going to die trying to get back to that because you're just overly confident. So it checks you when it's supposed to, and it's one of those things that I'm just talking about it. I hope this doesn't bore people, because we've been talking about this one single game specifically. And if for people that do not know about this game or don't have a good frame of reference of why it is that we're talking about this game, throughout this entire podcast, the gameplay that I've played since the beginning is all going to be in here. So anyone that wants to actually watch the actual video along with this will be posted along with it, and I'm going to do my best to have this available once the podcast is up. When we have it, that's going to be available on Friday. So if it is, I'm hoping I can be able to do it all at once, but it does take some time. If I don't, then you'll see the actual video posted on there, and you'll have the link so you can follow along with it. And just kind of step back and look at this type of game and say, can you be able to play this where it demands all those times of hours spent of playing other games to kind of retool your kind of your character, like your kind of like your, in such a way, I'm thinking of like the things that you've learned over the course of playing games, like your reflexes, how good are they? Like, how do you know how to navigate your player along with different obstacles where you can fall easily using the camera, knowing your distance of where you are, just being aware of like your distance of what you're doing within the level is just, you have to have a level of polish within playing these games, because you can get frustrated. You can fall in certain areas that you're not supposed to, or you weren't paying attention. So if you like a game that requires you to have that type of attention all the time, as well as making it challenging for these like type of parry melee type of games, then I would definitely just try it out. If it's not for you, then hey, I understand, but at least try something like this, because eventually these games are going to kind of go away, and there's going to be another version of these. You're going to have something else, but right now this permadeath type of dungeon crawlers are becoming so popular that you've seen so many other games come out with this, that the same type of concept or the permadeath itself. But eventually this is going to kind of go away, and it's going to be a niche type of genre. Eventually this will change it to something else, and you'll have your Call of Duties, you have your adventure games, but nothing like this. So just try not to take these games for granted, and just take the time and try to play them. Try something new with this. If it's not your thing, I get it, but at least try it.
Well, I think that with the rise in the last few years of roguelike games.
Oh man, I can't even. The one that I think of is that Mana Spark, and I that one left some bad taste in my mouth for that one. I don't get them. I don't, honestly.
And
I don't.
Is like
that type of game I don't get. It's based on luck. I didn't like what it was doing, but I can understand trying it, because I did try it. It just wasn't my thing.
You did. Yeah, and that's the thing, is I based on what you were telling me, I'm like, I hear now, and now I think Anko mentioned this before too, and I assumed it as well, that Hades was coming to PS4, and I think it is. I think I read that last like week or so, that it's coming out soon off of Nintendo Switch, and I think it was on PC or what have you. But so it's coming to PlayStation, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool and everything, and it sounds great, and he loved that game so much. He actually, I think, borrowed a Switch from his friend Fabian in order to play it. But as you were talking about Mana Spark, I'm like, I don't think this is up my alley. I might try something like that, like Rogue Legacy, which I haven't fired up at all. I think I got it from like a free PS Vita or PlayStation Plus thing that was going on. But I think as long as you try it and you kind of get the idea, then you can kind of see whether it is for you or not. I remember when this game came out. Was this the first like Souls-like game, right? Am I correct in that, or is it Dark Souls that came out first?
This one, I believe, is the first one.
Okay, so I remember when this
could
came
be wrong,
out, and I remember there was a coworker of mine that was talking about it and was like, "Oh, this is awesome. It's really fucking hard though," and she was explaining it, and I'm like, "Oh no, not for me." I'm like, this is not going to happen. I'm sorry, bro. Like, this is something that doesn't sound up my alley. I'm never going to get into this. How difficult that it is that you're explaining it to me. It doesn't sound fun. I'm just going to, just to veto that and not do that at all.
Right. Thank you for the offer. No, thank you.
Exactly. No, thank you. Like, I'm not into that. I'm not into.
I got too much stress in my life. I'm not adding more to this.
Yes, someone beating me up and then going, "Please, more. Can I have some more?" I'm like, no, I don't want that. But I of course nowadays, as you were talking about, it's just learning the mechanics and then figuring it out whether it is for you or not. But it's also that balance that you're talking about. It's almost gambling. It's so weird. It's like I found myself playing this game, and there was many of a time where I would sit there and go, okay, I have this many souls. Do I keep going?
Yeah.
Because I could fuck up and then have to hopefully get back to the same spot that I was at in order to pick this up. And it's not a guaranteed. Like you were saying, when you're playing this in the beginning, it's very difficult to get back to that red eye night. So like, do I risk all of my souls or just get back down? I went through like far enough where I probably went halfway through, but do I just backtrack and just say, fuck it, I got enough, I'm gonna go back, spend my soul to level myself up and go on?
Right.
Or do I risk it? Do I go even further and try to traverse, further than I did in prior, lives or deaths and things? And it's just like, it's that there's so many different levels to this game where it just keeps you, at least for me and you, it hooks you. And I don't know, it's a very very fascinating kind of game, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people should play, not like very casual people, but at the very least it's something that if you're into games, it's definitely one to pick up. And even just like, any of the originals like Dark Souls, you kind of get the gist of it. Granted, this one's, like we were talking about, is a lot more polished. It looks fucking amazing. If you have a PS5, at least maybe borrow it to see if you're not too afraid of playing it. I shouldn't say that, but it's like, you don't know, you're gonna spend $70. Actually, I think this week it's on sale. So whatever this podcast comes up, if it's still on sale, pick it up. But but yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like it's an experience that I feel like people should get into. And I think that the other thing that kind of hooks me, this game specifically, but also other ones, where not to say it gave me homework, but I like games that kind of allow me, when I'm not playing them, to kind of research things I want to do when I do get the chance to fire up the game again, if that makes sense. So if I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize I could go over here and pick up this weapon if I just do this and that or whatever. Okay, I'm going to do that next time I play. Or, oh, hey, this person over here I came across, but I didn't know what to do. Now I know I have to offer this thing up in order to get this. And there's just like that kind of back and forth. Or, hey, I want my character to, let's say, not fat roll and do a skinny roll. This is the process to do that. Or if I want this type of weapon. And that's what I was telling you on the call off mic was, some of these demon soul bosses, in order for you to, it requires some of those souls in order to make like certain weapons,
right,
and increase them. So I'm like, don't waste to like spend them and turn them into souls. Just keep them, because later on, depending on what you want to do, if you want to get into magic or any kind of upgrades that you want to do to your weapons, you need certain boss souls in order to do so. So you're gonna get souls across the board, no matter what, all the time, by grinding, killing enemies and all this stuff. So you're always going to get those. So I wouldn't worry about that. I played the game, like, again, I beat it 3 or 4 times, and I didn't use any of those to gain souls. I never needed to, because I used different enemies to grind on, and I didn't have to. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, the reason why I was asking about it is because, like, when I played any of the other ones, I'd never used them when I had to. I always like to just have them because they would just be there. But I started to kind of forget on the game itself because it just felt so fresh and new that I was just like, oh, I wonder if I need to use that now or if I could be able to wait. And that's where I was thinking while I was telling you this, because I was thinking of all the things within the game while I was playing it. And I was like, okay, I want this. There's a battle axe that I got, and there's a bastard sword that I got, and I wanted to use that. And I know that that's more for like a 2-handed one where it's going to be kind of holding onto your, you hold it down, you hold it onto your shoulder with one hand. So it takes away the shield, but I want to be able to try to do that. Like I like the actual, the sword that they give you right now. But I like the ability, once I figured out how to be able to upgrade my character, once I started to actually figure out that I can use the souls in order to be able to upgrade. Once I figured out that, because that one I just forgot. And then when I was talking to you, you gave me some insight of like what to look for. And then once you figure out how to be able to upgrade your character, then that's where it opens up into like what type of player you want to be. And based on what you want to do, there's a different variety that you can do. You can be able to have your character very strong, or you can have it more for like endurance, or if you want to have it where you can carry a lot. It's all based on like what your playstyle is. And one thing in particular that I've admired about these games is that there's such a balance between that, because if you get something and you want something, it's going to take something else away from you. So you have to be so aware of like what's important to you and what's not important to you, because while you're playing the game, you can't be able to like pause the actual process and be able like, oh wait, hold on a second, let me wait for this boss real quick, and let me just get back and be able to figure out what it is I need, like these enemies and things like that. Like, you have to think about them on the fly, and you have to make those changes accordingly. And with the way that I'm playing this character with this knight, I want him to be very strong. I want him to have like the better weapons. I want him to have the best armor. So it's like all these things I have to work at in order to get that, which requires the grinding of souls. So I'm going to take the time right now and start actually grinding that area and just kind of utilizing the environment and taking down that red knight, and might as well do that. And then I can just kind of keep going back and forth, and then, acquire as many souls as I want right now. But that's kind of what I want to do for right now. And then I'll take the path of taking down those. And once I took down that boss that was kind of like the big slug thing, I'll take the path down that way, because I like the fact that it's opened up these other areas that I can go into, other levels. But I want to see what this actually looks like now. Like, I want to see like what other changes they've done.
I think the one thing that maybe if I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm interpreting this incorrectly, or other people might be just interpreting, is that by doing these types of cheese moves, that you're kind of gonna override the difficulty in a way that you're going to be uber strong, and then it's just going to be easy for you.
No, it's not.
But it's not.
It's not.
It never is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this specific type of game, is that normally in any other game, you would be correct. If you take down this path and use the cheesy method and do all this stuff, yeah, it's going to be easier for you because you did all these things, you grinded. This shit doesn't matter.
No.
You can sit here and grind those souls, but unless you pay attention to the enemy's moves and attacks, and you are dodging and doing the things you need to do, like I was saying before, I fucking with my main character, I almost died.
Yeah.
From basic bitches.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility that if you don't do the things in the right way, you can die from the easiest enemy. Right. So I wouldn't be like shamed for doing these type of exploits, because it's a part of the game. The whole thing is a part of the game. And when I was showing you 4-1, where you're able to kind of roll over and get over that wall and then go down, and then again I fucked up because I was terrible at my archery skills. They're all rusty for killing that fucking little shiny little slug thing that you're supposed to. Anyway,
right?
You're able to,
the trinket or the trinkets, whatever. It's like a chrysolite, something like that. Yeah,
things that move, and if you don't kill them really fast, they kind of dig their hole and they disappear.
Yeah, but they also like kind of they guild you into like chasing after them,
right?
And then they're kind of like it's bait, and it's you're running into it, and then you fall into a bunch of enemies.
Yeah, or they fall off the mountain, and then you're like trying to like attack them and all that shit. So it's all a game, but that shortcut right there, that takes you directly to the boss, and then that's the adjudicator there. After you kill that adjudicator, when you open up that door, that's one where you can grind so many more souls. You're talking about that 8,000 one. I think I can get up to, I want to say 12 or something like that. From there's like a necromancer down there, and at that point you can have a bow and just tap him, I don't know, depending on your power, maybe like 3 or 4 times, and then he dies, and it kills all of the ghosts that are about to attack you. And then it just, from there, you rinse and you repeat, and then you fucking keep just building your character, and that's the thing. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And again, you're getting your ass beat no matter what. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Like, you could potentially die on the basic enemy
Right.
as long as you're thinking you're too cocky or whatever it is, and it's gonna happen. Trust me, it's gonna happen. So by doing that, take advantage of the rules that are in place and all the exploits that happen, and it's a fun game no matter what. But
Yeah, just I would say just utilize your strengths and utilize their weaknesses with the environment especially. And the enemies are not going to like, especially the ones that you encounter over and over again. They're not all that smart. They don't need to be, but they'll keep reminding you that, hey, I'm going to kill you every chance I get, every time you get, because it has that adaptive difficulty that's embedded into all of these games. So there is no normal, or the beginner, normal, and then hard layer of difficulty. This thing is just adaptive based on how you play. So the more you learn, the more the game learns on like how to be able to try to defeat you. It notices the things that you're doing, and it changes based on what it is that you're doing, how you're progressing. So, and that's the challenge within that game. No matter what you're doing, no matter how strong you're getting, there's still going to be a challenge within that. And I mean, there's not a lot of games that can be able to pull that off and make it into a way where it's enjoyable, because most of the times you be fighting with the game as far as like the mechanics. Some of the things are just not that well polished, where you're just constantly fighting your own character and like you're manipulating the world in a way to be able to get through things because the game wasn't finished. These games don't have that. A lot of the times, I'd say 90 some odd percent of the time, it's your fault that you died. Because there was something that just wasn't there that you didn't pay attention to. And I learned the hard way playing all the Dark Souls, and especially Demon Souls. Demon Souls was my first introduction into the idea of like, it's your fault for you dying, because you put yourself in a situation where you couldn't back out of an area. You got stuck behind a wall. You try to hit somebody, and then your actual weapon would nick off of the wall that you're swinging at, and then all of a sudden the enemy attacks you and gets around you and gets you. And it's a lot of times it's your fault. And I never experienced something like that. And learning my lesson with Bloodborne, I was just like, okay, that's why I walk really slow. That's why I pay attention. That's why every time I walk, I always have my shield up. And that's another thing that I've always done, because I don't really know what's going to happen, and I kind of have forgotten the layers within the levels, because it's been so long since I played that. Like, the original came out on the PS3, I remember, and I remember just seeing little pieces of it and then started playing a little bit after I had gone through some of the games within the series. But I remember seeing that game, like the actual the title or the actual game art on display when the games were, or some games that I was trying to get or whatever. I remember seeing that. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I didn't know anything about those type of the series of what it was doing. I wish I would have, but that's okay. I mean, hey, you're never too late to the party, as long as you at least can be able to play these type of things, because you're missing out on something that you may not realize that could be your thing. I never played these type of games, and now it's my thing. And it's all this torture that these games give you, that it's like all these things that are just telling you that you can't get through it, but you just push and power through it, and you can see that you can do it. And you can get through all this stuff, but it's like you use whatever's easier for you, whatever type of exploits or whatever environments, whatever you want to do. It does not matter, because the game is not going to be easy for you no matter what. So you might as well make it a little easier for yourself if you can.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, playing this game just gives you different ways to kind of like hone and like sharpen your skills. And again, like we talked about, it might not be for you or anything like that. But, as I get older, I'm not as nimble and all of that shit when it comes to reaction time and things like that. Like, I still can't get through a lot of and I'm not going to go too far back like you're with Ninja Gaiden, but like some like 2D games nowadays that are like, whether it's like Mega Man or even What was the game that I keep forgetting the name? That's
Which
like
one?
it's a new like ninja game that you guys were
Oh,
playing.
Cyber Shadow.
Cyber Shadow. I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry, like I can't do it. It might be great and all
it's
this.
fun, man.
It's fun, I'm sure, but it's like I know I don't have the skills anymore to do that. I just don't.
But
And
this one you do.
this one I do. And it's the weirdest thing. It's like I can do this and not that. you know? So I
Right.
feel like it's one of those things where, could be something that my skills have atrophied or whatever, but at the same time it's just something that you have to I feel like it's something that you have to figure out for yourself and at least try or play it out. And that's what makes me want to go, maybe I should try Hades, even though I'm not into roguelikes. And the fucking experience you had with Mana Spark, like we were talking about before, I'm like, I don't want anything. I don't want any part of it. I don't. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. That one is just different in its own. And what that game is basically, it's you have one life to be able to get to the boss, and there's essentially like three levels to the game, and it's a dungeon crawler, and it's got some unique things where your character uses a bow to be able to. You have to aim with your character can move to its left and right with your left thumb, and then with your right thumb you can actually determine where you want the arrow to go, and then you just pull the trigger, and then he'll grab his arrow and shoot it. So there's a little bit of lag when you do it, and your character stops and shoots it. So the game is all based on these luck cards, and yeah, the concept is cool because it's got like a pixelated like 8-bit type of theme to it. So it's got some real charm to it, and it's interesting to play. I mean, it is fun in some things where you can be able to utilize like some of the weapons that you get, and you could be able to utilize and be able to trap people. Like I had this bear trap that I would throw down, and the enemies would come about, and it'd snag them up, and it would take them out real quick. So there's fun things within it, but I just no. If a game's all based on luck and it's not based on your skills, because every time you play the game, the environment would change. It would always have something different, so it would always be procedurally generated every single time. The layout would be similar, but the enemies that they would give you would kind of be thrown all at once. And yeah, there's a challenge within that, but then once I saw the boss and I saw who it was, what it was, I was like, no, it's too much. It's a game that's based on luck is not it's not going to be a game that I'm going to play. This game is not based on luck. This game is based on your skills, based on your ability to be able to keep wanting to play this game and see what it's doing. Why it is that these games are so successful, because of what they've been able to accomplish with the way that you're traversing through these worlds, how interesting they are, and just even now, like how beautiful the actual world is, even though it's set in such a dark, depressing environment. You can see just the lighting between that when it glimmers into the actual, like these castles, the one castle that you're in. You can see there's pieces of it that like have a little bit of life in it, but then you look around and then it's all like gone. Like you'll see like trees that are just burned. You'll see like all these remnants of like this something that's been going on for a long time. Like this sense of like shadow and like evil is just seething through everything. But then you get little pieces where you see a little bit of life here and there, and then it's like you catch all those things, and those are things I can't ignore. I mean, playing the game, and when you're looking around, and I didn't mention this before, but the thing that I remember this game, I don't think they did that in the original before Blue Point took it over and actually being able to basically remaster it. When you move your camera around, the character's head will actually move along with it. I don't think they did that because I think your character always stayed stagnant. Like it stayed one position and then you would turn the camera around. When you would turn your camera, you'd see now your character's head will actually pivot. If you're looking left or if you're looking right or looking up, it's like the head will move along with the camera while you're moving. And it's a small little thing, but it's also a thing that's actually extremely important because it feels like everything you're doing, the character is reacting and seeing what you're seeing. While you're taking your time walking through certain corridors and you're taking the world in, taking the environment in, your character's doing that. He's moving his head too, so he's doing exactly what you're doing. And it's getting pieces of that actual game where you can stop and just admire what this game is doing, even when you're not actually, fighting for your life. There's moments that you can stop and just enjoy what this is, and especially what Blue Point has done with this. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's such an accomplishment to be able to make something like this and not have a point to be like, hey, we're going to make our own little thing in here. We're going to add a multiplayer on here. We're going to add all these things in here. We're going to make a cover mechanic within the game and completely destroy the fundamentals of this game at its core. They didn't do that. I mean, clearly they wouldn't have done that. Why would they take on this type of game, this type of franchise, if their means was to be able to make their own? If that was the case, they just make their own game. Like, don't fuck with something like this. But they didn't. They enhanced this game even further, where I feel like I'm playing this game like it's brand new. Like I've never played this game before. That's how I'm experiencing this. And I can't imagine how you can make something like this and not and kind of forget about the original and feel like this is the original. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, and like as you mentioned, like Blue Point was the studio to do this, right? And I remember mentioning this on another podcast when I was first playing this game, and I was just stunned at how many games this studio has redone or remastered or was given the opportunity and given the faith to do what they do. You know, like just going through their Wikipedia, like I'm not naming all their games. There's a few I'm leaving off because they're not, to me, like very important. But in 2009, you have the God of War collection on PS3. You have Eco and Shadow of the Colossus on PS3 remastered.
I don't think they did Eco.
Oh, I mean, according to Wikipedia, I'm looking at.
Really?
Yeah, they did Eco.
Is that the one that was on the PS3?
Yes.
The one that was the combination of the two?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that they touched Eco. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So they did.
I have that one. I have I have that one because it has a soundtrack with it, and it's a cool cover art that's on there, and they give you both games are in one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, you might be right. Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize that it was Blue Point. Okay.
Which, but I have to go and finish or start Eco, I should say, because I know
you should.
I know because I already did Shadow of the Colossus, so I need to do that, and then what's the other one?
You mean The Last Guardian?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No disrespect. I couldn't remember the name.
It's okay. It's okay. A lot of people forget about that one. Honestly, like
I see the animal. That's all I keep seeing in my head. I just can't remember the fucking name for that.
It's called the animal itself is called Trico.
Okay.
And the boy is basically just like a boy, but
Anko,
that
me,
game,
and you, Trico.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like with that game, especially with The Last Guardian, that one was kind of a combination of all of their other two games in one. All the things that they had learned from Eco and also with Shadow of the Colossus, and making it like a hybrid between those two games and making it its own. I've never played a game where you're along with this huge Griffith type of character that's your companion, but also feels like a real animal. Like there's a moment that I recorded. There's a moment where you vault over this big wall, and when you vault over this wall, your character is kind of hanging onto him on the top of his neck, kind of like just riding him like a horse would. And the Trico jumps over, and when he jumps over, he lands in this big, not like a big puddle, but a big enough a puddle of water that's there. And at this point, this character, this animal hasn't seen anything like this, hasn't seen water like that. And if you don't stop and actually get off a Trico and just kind of move around, you're not going to see what happens. Or if you ignore it and you just keep venturing through the actual level, you're not going to notice. But if you stop and just kind of wait for a second, what Trico does is that he actually puts his paw in the water for a second, kind of like a dog that is trying to get into the pool or something and doesn't like the water and doesn't know what it is. He's touching it for the first time and looking at it and kind of moving, and then he starts kind of playing in the water, and then this fucking guy starts jumping from side to side in the water, and then all of a sudden he starts rolling in it on his side. He like rolls over like a dog and rolls over the water and rolls back, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, that is such a beautiful moment that I've never experienced in the game. Never. And the fact that that's even in there, because you could have easily ignored it. You could have easily just passed through it and you wouldn't have seen it. If you get to a certain point, then that's when the Trico will keep moving. But if you're immersed within this world and you're looking at everything, you get rewarded by these small little things. And I will never forget that, because that game could have easily never seen the light of day, but the fact that it was, and it still had those elements that they showed when it first got showcased, that's just a testament to just the great design. And you have leaders that can be able to navigate this game and be able to get it to be finished. But you have those moments like that where it takes away that game itself and makes it into like just this journey with you and your friend. And there's just a moment that's in there that's just touching and so endearing. And I'll never forget something like that. That's why that game, not only just because of what the game does as accomplishment within the actual gameplay itself and the story, but it's also like the experience that I had that I've never experienced with any of the other games. That's why like Eco is one of those ones that's like a game that I will continuously always talk about and champion, because the friendship and relationship that you have with the little boy and that princess, you get to experience something that you've never had before, that I've never experienced in a game before. And I'll always go back to that. And I'll always say that, anyone that hasn't played this game, go back and play it. It's on the PS2 originally. It's on the PS3, and you can also be able to play it on the PlayStation. It's exclusive with PlayStation, so it's not going to be on Xbox or on Steam or anything like that. So that game is just an adventure, environmental puzzle type of game.
I feel like Sony had a lot to do with that, with The Last Guardian, like pushing it, because the Fukushima eruption in Japan affected that.
Yeah,
and there was there was some design things and programs that they lost because of an outage, and there were so many things, like you were saying, that this good game could have never happened. But I feel like it was Sony, and it was also like the pressure of them going like, where, like of the audience going, where is this game? Why isn't this game here? It was supposed to originally come out on PS3. It started as a PS3 game, and it eventually got to the end, almost the end of the life cycle of the PS4 in order for it to come out, which is fucking ridiculous. And it's just a testament to the developers and Sony believing in it. And granted, it may have not, like, it's not a Call of Duty, it's not one of those GTA, it's not going to sell a bajillion of copies, but they believed in it, and it was one of those things. Kind of rolling back into like roguelikes, I know recently a game called Returnal came out, and I'm glad I didn't get it, because talking about how difficult games are and with Demon Souls and things like that, it's just, this game, from what I'm hearing, is so hard, and it's a roguelike, and I didn't realize what this game was. Like, I kind of wanted to wait to see what it ended up turning into from reviews to know what this game was. It was very obtuse leading up to all of it. Yeah, there was some videos, and there's some gameplay moments that they were showing off, but I still didn't know what the fuck this game was. And then I learned it was a roguelike, and I'm like, it turned me off completely. Right. And like I was saying, like with Hades and things like that, I'm like, I don't think this is a game for me, and I'm glad I didn't pay the money for it, because in my opinion, it's not going to be my type of game. And I heard it was not for the average bear. It's it's not very, 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 very difficult. So it ramps up so much. And the fact that you can do a run, quote unquote, is what they call it with roguelikes. You can go a run. Imagine, Tony, for playing for 3 hours, right? Playing 3 hours, doing a run, and all of a sudden you die. You have to not just like with Demon Souls, where you have to, I'll just go back to my body, and it might take me like 20 minutes or whatever it is just to get back to them. Imagine losing 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
doesn't that frustrate you to the point where just like, I'm never going to play this game ever again? I know some people would be like, get good or whatever the fuck it is, but it's like, bro, like, there's so much punishment that I can take, you know?
Well, that was the example that we had talked about, and when I had talked about that game when I was just kind of like done with Monospark.
Yeah.
When talking about that, I was just like, well, what if Dark Souls did that? What if the game, when you died, you go right back to the beginning? What if you didn't even have the ability to be able to get back to your souls? What if the accumulation of everything you have is a one-time thing? Like, can you be able to play that game? I can't do that. No. Fuck no. There's so many times that I make mistakes, or there's even certain times when I'm just like, fending for my life and I die, or maybe what if the case is like I end up running out of like ways to be able to replenish my health? It's simple things like that, and it's like that can't be. You have to give your players something, or the players something, in order for them to be able to feel like they're actually contributing into this game and be able to be rewarded in such a way. But if you strip that away and you take that away completely, like if they did that with this game where there was an option, fuck man, I'd be very curious to see who can be able to play this game and not die once. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that can do that. There's people that do speed runs. Yeah. Absolutely. But you know what? The average person, if you did that, like if Blue Point had an option for that, I would be very curious to see if anyone can be able to do that, because I can't do that. I don't have the patience for that. There's no way I could be able to try to tackle this down. And especially the amount of enemies that you encounter and the fact that you're going to encounter them only once. No way. No way.
That's what I think I was saying this recently, which was it doesn't give you the option to learn from your mistakes, because by the time you get to the same situation, you die again.
Yeah.
So imagine getting to that same point and it's taking you 3 hours to get there. How many times are you going to learn from those mistakes when you can't even get there again? And by the time you do, let's say you take 30 times, but it's the second time you get to that boss.
Yeah.
And then you die, then you're not learning anything. So then it's a frustrating mechanic at that point. Not to say that that's what Returnal is, but it's getting to the point where it's just like, well, fuck. Anything that I hear about roguelikes makes me go, that's not my type of game. And again, that could change 10 years from now, like it did with Demon Souls. Like, and now I love Demon Souls, and I've beat it multiple times, and it's just I'm having a great time with it. But
that one gives you something. That one at least gives you something that you can be able to go back to and be able to learn. You can learn from. You learn from your mistakes. That's the idea of the game. You're supposed to learn from your mistakes. You're not going to just make one mistake and be like, shit, why did I die? Or like you'll forget by the time. Like imagine going all the way to the end boss, and then all of a sudden you die, and then you have to do it all over again. You think you're going to fucking remember every enemy that you encounter, every boss, every little thing you have to do? Fuck no. There is no way you can do that. Hey, you know what? If those rogue type of games can do that, if you're that type of player, yeah, I commend you that you can be able to do that. I would never touch these games if it was like that. If they did that with this, and with the FromSoft does this with Bloodborne, let's just say they do that with Bloodborne, you know what? I'll try my best. I'll play it as much as possible. But you know what? If that's the game and you die, oh no, there's just too much that I can be able to try to handle, and that I can't. I can handle everything else that they're going to give you, where I feel like there's bugs crawling on me throughout that game, but I can't do that. You can't strip everything completely away from me, and then expect me to be able to try to ask for more. No way.
Hurt me more. Yeah.
Not with that.
Well, that's a nice Metal Gear Solid 1 reference. I had to throw that in there because
I know. I was just trying to talk over it. See to make light to it.
Well, the next game that they remastered, going back to Blue Point Games, remastering is Metal Gear Solid HD Collection on 360.
Yeah.
In 2011. Yeah. I'm going to roll over a couple of the other ones. 2014, Titanfall on 360. 2015, Uncharted, Nathan Drake Collection.
Yeah.
They did that. 2018, Shadow of the Colossus. And 2020, Demon Souls.
Yeah.
So, great. But you know what I'm really excited about? This is very,
what's that, sir?
Very selfish of me. I'm excited to get 2 trophies from you. Now that now that you're
Okay.
playing this game.
Okay.
One of them includes, this is all from memory, and my memory is shit, but one is taking down a boss, which I know you're not going to want me to do because you want to take down a boss yourself.
No.
Blah, blah,
That's
blah.
fine. That's fine.
But if you come across a boss that you're struggling with, I'm happy to help you out.
Jump in there. Okay.
Because I need that trophy.
Okay.
And the second one, which you can get this too, but you don't care about the trophy.
No, I care less.
I have to kill you when I
invade.
But
Uh-huh.
and you can kill me too. I don't have a problem with it. It's no big deal.
Okay.
No problems here. That's if you want the trophy. But
those are 2 that you need.
that's 2 I need.
So those 2, will that give you at 100%?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
The other ones that I'm working on, I feel like I have to get enough. Did I get all the spells? There's the rings. I have to get all of the rings available in the game, which I know I haven't gotten that. I think I might be all of the spells or maybe one off, but other than that, I think that I've gotten almost everything except for those other 2, which is going to be multiplayer included. So
Okay.
I'm going to reach out to you after a few weeks because, I'm sure you're going to be playing this shit.
No, yeah, I mean,
Constantly,
I'm
so.
gonna be that. This is the thing is that I was trying to actually the last time we had talking about finding a way to be able to stream.
Yeah.
It looks like the way that everything's gonna be kind of working. I think I'm gonna actually stream straight from our actual YouTube channel, which is L.O.W Podcast, and within that we have it where it's set where it's kind of like we're doing our spotlight, like what we do with our editions with the games that we want to kind of talk about and we would just want to highlight. So within that, it's I think that's what's going to happen with this. I found it to be probably a little bit easier, but the main reason why I had some little issues with it is like Twitch was having some issues with me connecting onto it. But the reason why I even say this is because I like to be able to have the recordings myself, because if there's things that I want to have, there's always things that I can always go back to, because especially a game like this, I always found it so resourceful to go back when you miss something and you saw something and they're like, oh shit, what is this? Or you didn't even see the door or someone told you about it. And then you go back and you're like, oh, that's right. Cause you're going to miss things.
Right.
You're going to miss through, some certain areas that you didn't know that there's a passage, or you can fall down one certain spot and then you can be able to land in a certain area. You're just going to miss things. So I love having that frame of reference within these games because it's my own. You can see all the mistakes that I made, all the enemy encounters that I've gone through, all the little things. So that's kind of the reason why I had a little bit of trouble with Twitch. But long way of saying, the way that the stream is going to be coming about would be through the YouTube channel. So from there, I'll put up the link. I'll give everybody at least a good hour well before, but I'll probably announce it the day before. So everyone, the people that are following us on Twitter, that you can be able to just kind of like be aware that, there's going to be like a live stream of this game, and I'll still be playing the game, and then I'll probably put in a couple hours. So then, just get a feel for everybody. But that's the part that I'm really excited about, because that's going to also bring another layer to this game where it's kind of like it's going to make me want to keep playing the game even further. So, and obviously I just started scratching the surface of this thing, and I'm so I don't feel overwhelmed because I know kind of what I want to do, but I also love the challenges that it gives you. I love the enemies that you encounter, the amount of distance that you can be able to make within the levels. It feels like these ones, it feels like there's a lot more of a distance between your checkpoints. And maybe that's just me, but it feels like there's a further distance from one point to another where you feel safe. So maybe that's just me, but
No,
it seems like that.
I agree with that. No, I feel like I want to say Dark Souls 3, there was a lot more bonfires, and I feel like with this one, it's not as plentiful.
Right.
For this. But, it's my first time when I was, sending a video from my PS5 over to the YouTube channel, at least mine, that it was just a bullshit one. Account that I had just because I wanted to just send you some tips. But it took a while because I'm like, why isn't it updated in my channel, and it's only like a couple minute. The first one was like 4 minutes long. The other one was like 2 minutes long. I'm like, why is it taking so long? And I saw my PS5. It's like, oh, it's still uploading. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, all right, so why isn't it still here? And it still took a little bit, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes to like actually show up. So granted, anything that you're doing in 1080p or 4K and it's longer than a few minutes, it's going to be a while to like pop up just to show up. But if you're streaming it on YouTube, then it's going to be there. Right. So I'm like, I'm still learning about that kind of type of shit too. And I'm late to the game. We're fucking old as fuck. But, well, yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out. But it's cool. This is the type of game that I was telling you before, where it's one of those streamable type of games.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm really excited about. And with that, I mean, just to give you a frame of reference with the YouTube channel, going back to The Last Guardian, I created a YouTube channel specifically for The Last Guardian when it got announced that it was supposed to come out in 2010, and I made the YouTube channel is still up. It's still there. It's called Last Guardian 2010. Jeez. That's when that game got announced and that it was supposed to have that release date. I was dedicated back then to put that game on YouTube when I first started. This is going back 10 years, over 10 years.
Yeah.
Over 10 years. So if you want, I'll put the little link in there, and it'll show the actual channel itself. I only have like maybe a couple subscribers. I don't even remember, but I'll just give you how much this is advanced. I had a little digital camera that would have a camera that would swivel from one side to the other, kind of like an old style flip phone that had a camera that can toggle between the back and the front. Yeah. So the camera did that. It was a Sony. It was called like a. I think it was called like a. I don't know what it was called. It was like a pocket. It was like a weird thing. Anyways, what I did is that I actually recorded that and put it in frame next to my TV, and I captured the video through the actual video camera to the TV. So I was recording the actual TV recording as actual gameplay, because there wasn't anything that I can be able to record the actual gameplay on, like an actual Elgato that I've been using for several years. So I have Splinter Cell Conviction on there, and these are going back all the way back from when that game was started. I have a couple gameplays that are in there. The audio is bad because it's picking up the audio from the TV, so it's really, really bad. But I've been doing this for a very long time, especially like making videos, and especially with the YouTube channel L.O.W Podcast, which originally was Level 1 Tester, but that one itself, that YouTube channel I've had that's been continuous since the Last Guardian, because once that game kind of got pushed away and didn't seem like it was going to be real, I was like, you know what, let me just make some games. Let me just start putting them on there and start actually playing them. So I started to fall in love with the idea of having all those games and having to be able to like record them, put them on there, edit them, and be able to put all the stuff in there. It was so much fun, man. I've enjoyed doing that since so long ago. And with this is coming to the point where it's just like, man, you can stream these games even further. You don't have to have like a little digital camera to record the TV. You could do all these things, play on multiplayer, and be able to play with people, talk to people while you're playing. It's so engaging that you can be able to do this, and I'm really excited to do this with Demon Souls. I'm so excited because it's going to give me like another excuse to just keep playing this game and just kind of get through it. So I'll let everybody know well before, at least the day before, when I'm going to be scheduling it. So tune into that.
These kids don't know how it was back in my day. I had to walk 15 miles in the snow
while you're holding your little cane with you,
with no socks on.
People don't like that, man. Whenever you hear that old man, they're like, "Oh man, go to bed. Yeah. It's late for you.
Get off
what are you
my
doing?
lawn. What are you doing?"
Yeah,
but this whole Demon Souls also just reminds me of like, I can't wait for Elden Ring. I can't wait to see what the fuck that is, because that's gonna be the next Souls-like game. So that's gonna be
That's
fucking
more than
nice.
likely. Did they did it say like when it's supposed to,
There's
what they're aiming towards?
there, I think it's gonna be early 2022. I think
Okay.
they were aiming for this fall, but then shit just got fucked up. So
Right.
uh, I think Jeff Keighley was alluding to having that develop, like he's doing a summer game fest, but I think that they're supposed to be there, but we'll see.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
still waiting, so hopefully we see something from them. But I did, before we end, um I did want to throw this in there. That's not anything related to Demon Souls, but and I
Okay.
don't know. I know you were at work, but I don't know if you saw this, but there's a nice PS5 update for Last of Us 2.
I did see that. I did.
Well,
The
seeing
4K
nice
4K
little
60 frames.
nice little load time, nice 4K, nice 60 frames, and I said, "Fucking finally,
Yeah.
fucking finally," and that's
Yep.
probably what's gonna suck me back into that and wanting to do unlimited ammo. Oh, yeah, this is the other thing. I wanted to
Yeah.
get your opinion on this because this was in the next podcast. We'll talk about Resident Evil Village and how I finished that. But this kind of brought up a topic in my head. What the fuck happened to when you beat a game, or even if you don't beat a game, there's like cheats. You know what I'm saying? Like with RE Village, they go, oh, after you beat the game, there's points you can get, and then you can unlock unlimited ammo for certain weapons, but you have to purchase them with, points that you've earned by doing certain things throughout the game and things like that. But I'm like, it's so refreshing for Last of Us 2 to kind of have that enabled. I think they did it through the update that they last had, where you can just turn it on and off in the settings.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened to
Yeah.
that? Wouldn't that be great? Just kind of be able to kind of do whatever you want and have all the weapons at your disposal and make cool videos by doing that. I don't know. That's just me. Like, what happened to that? Let's fucking go back to that.
It's kind of one of those things of like, because the like longevity of most games are not very long. You play a game for a little bit and people have such a short amount of attention span that it's like, why put those resources into a game that's traditionally not going to be utilized in that fashion? So I would imagine that most of the time it's like resources are being allocated to something else. And because there's so many different varieties of games and there's such a different type of gamer that it's out there, you'd have to have a game that's established, that's well established in order to have something like that where people are going to appreciate and actually use that. So unfortunately, it's only for the ones that are really popular games that you're going to ever see stuff like that. Like as far as
GTA?
like GTA is a prime example. Like I've seen over the past couple days, I've seen some GTA mods for GTA 5 that were talking about like the photorealistic of like the rain and like what the game looks like, and it looks like something that I've never seen before. Like the real-time lighting that they're talking about and the way that they've scaled the graphics to make it look like it's all photorealistic, and that's like the biggest thing that I've seen within that. It's just mind-blowing of what the games could potentially be. And if GTA, they've always been modding that game, and even GTA 4, I've seen like mods within that too. But I mean, there's so much you can do with that game, and if you have the resources to do it where you have people that can do that, then the games are going to be endless. And with like the Last of Us Part 2, you can do all that stuff. You can use some of the stuff that you've earned and actually be able to use it in such a way where you can actually have some of the actual like the 3D models, the renders of the characters, if you wanted to spend your money that way based on like how you played the game. So
well, you would think it would be easy, right? Because it's just something that you can toggle and be like, hey, everyone has unlimited ammo. You just go into the settings and just do this. Or put a certain cheat code in and just do this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to be like one of those things where it's that intensive of a development tool because they fuck around with
Yeah.
that shit too, right? Because as they're making the game, they have to make sure that these weapons are balanced. Whether you're talking
Right.
about Call of Duty, you're not going to be like, oh, I ran out of ammo, let me like reset. No, you have unlimited ammo as a developer going, I'm going to shoot this person in the face and make sure that it aims correctly, or there's
Right.
drag, there's this, there. Like, it's not that difficult. So fucking add it as an additive to the game so people can enjoy and make cool. I've seen so many cool ass videos of Last of Us of people like jumping off the top, shooting somebody in the face, landing, shooting somebody in the leg, doing this, taking out their shotgun, taking off their knee or their head. Like, those cool fucking moments can exist if you just have the freedom to do so, and if you just give them all of the ammo, then just do it. I don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's I think it's the game genie in you that's like you're
Maybe.
wishing that you can be able to have. You can have those things back over again, and I guess just because it was such a different. It's that at that time you can be able to find those things where you can be able to, have those kind of exploits in such a way where they were just beneficial, where it made the game fun, and especially like infinite lives or things like that. I think that's just a type of game that if it's somebody that wants to kind of go further into the game, it'd have to be somebody that's going to be invested into playing the games over again,
But it's
over
an
and
option,
over and over.
right? It's not like you start
Yeah,
out and you're
yeah.
now I have unlimited lives, so it's going to affect the way that this person plays the game. But if I beat the game
Right.
once, I can go
Right.
back in and they go, okay, now cheats are enabled, so you're able to go back in. You already
Right.
played the game. You can now go, okay, I have unlimited ammo. And if I choose not to, I
Right.
can turn it on and off. How hard is that? That's
Right.
not difficult. You just put it in, and games don't do that anymore, which it's fucked up. I feel like it just add it as an option, and then people can kind of go into this just like they do with Grand Theft Auto. It's a sandbox. You go in here and you can fuck around with everything, make cool
Yeah.
shit, do it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe it's just
yeah.
old
I
man,
mean,
like
you're
you
right.
said,
I mean,
the genie in me.
I think that's. I mean, that's really what it is. Like, you kind of want those things, for those elements in there, that you can be able to do all this kind of stuff. But in reality, I think it's just a matter of just people that their lack of attention
Or
to
resources, maybe they don't want to spend time to.
Maybe, but I mean, it's more than likely it's all veered on based on the actual the gamers itself, the players, this type of generation gamers. I mean, a lot of people are not going to spend the time to be able to do that. Where it's like, chances are they're going to play the game, they're going to finish it, and they're going to move on to something else. And that's
I
the
get it.
unfortunate thing about it, because
I understand.
you'd have to have a game that's dedicated with this. Like, for this game in particular, like, you can be able to probably get away with something like that, but I think that it would take away some of the elements within the game. The challenges within this game is kind of like it being notorious for constantly reminding you that you need to be on your toes and you need to like pay attention to everything. So with the Last of Us, I don't like the idea of having unlimited ammo, because I love that you have your resources on there, but I do like that there's some things in there that you could be able to do within the actual game that's like a reward for the time that you spent within the game, because I think I clocked in about maybe over 100 hours with that game.
Yeah. You definitely
And
did.
man, and I played it on the hardest difficulty, and there's even more to the difficulty that I haven't even touched into yet, that at this point I can't do now, because I need to be able to finish this game. But in particular, it's just like you can actually start doing that if you wanted to. So it just gives you that option. So I don't know, man. That's a good thing to think about.
Well, my thing with that is, okay, so, you spent over 100 hours in a game, and, I beat it twice, and I probably equaled the amount of hours you did. I think I did like 40 one time, and I can't remember what I said, 30 the second time or something like that. It's a long fucking game. But but imagine you can kind of just play around. You already beaten the game. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to do.
Right.
Like, you already know where the story's going to end. So why not fuck
Right.
around? Like, I don't understand what the big deal is. You're not taking away anything other than trying out different stuff and messing with the AI, messing with the infected that are coming at you. Maybe the gun that you're using, so you can understand how effective it is when it's coming at you and running, or versus standing still or from afar, or like you can kind of mess around with the physics and things like that. Where I don't know, it's something that it just brings another level to you when you already did everything. You finished it. You completed it. You can show everyone, hey, I did this. I figured it out and I beat it. But there's another thing where, into my mind, where I'm like, well, there could be other things to it that can gain. It's almost like you're squeezing an orange to get at all the juices out of it.
Right.
And like, you've done everything, but like, maybe there's a little more I can do from playing this game. And it adds to that, and it continues on and over again. But I digress. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, and there's a new update as of today for it, and I will definitely enable cheats. The only ones that I want to do is unlimited ammo, because I want to have unlimited bow. That's what I want. I just want
of course.
I just want that fucking bow and unlimited arrow. I don't want unlimited shotgun. I don't want none of it. I want the fucking bow. That's all I want.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's what you shall have.
Yes,
especially
sir.
in that one where that's all you get. So.
Yes, sir. Anyway.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited for that. The way that's going to look like, especially on a 4K TV, and like that quality, especially that frame rate, it's going to look even better. I remember when they did that with the remastered version. I remember when I played that for the first time, I was like, whoa, this thing is like you're playing it all over again, brand new. So I'm excited for that.
There's a Digital Foundry video I watched of this update.
Yeah.
And it's fucking silky smooth. Except for one spot, which the narrator was like, it's so weird because it's only in this one spot when you're climbing your spoilers. If you haven't played last, you're crazy. You're insane. You're insane.
You're missing out. Well,
fucked up.
You know, if you don't get what we're talking about with Demon Souls, I can understand that. But Last of Us, you can have your reserves on like how that story was being crafted and how it ended. But you can't see what that game did with the mechanics itself, the characters. You're missing it. You're missing what that game has fundamentally done, where other games should take that example with, especially with AI, the enemy AI, especially.
The AI is
man,
so good.
Come on.
So good.
Go ahead.
But there is a spot particularly. You remember when you're Abby and you're up in I guess it's scaffolding, but there's multiple enemies. There's like maybe 8 or 9 enemies that are walking around in different levels. There's like 3 different levels. I don't know if you remember.
I think so, yeah.
But there's one specific spot there where if you get behind, like a little at the very top, if you get behind a certain area, the frames drop a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So if you turn on 60 frames, it drops for whatever reason. The guy from Digital Foundry was like, I don't understand why in this specific area it drops. It only drops like 2 or 3 frames.
Oh, okay.
The rest of the fucking game is 60 every fucking time. Perfect.
Come on.
Just doesn't drop, doesn't move, doesn't do anything, and it looks fucking phenomenal. So that's really just a testament of the console itself, what it can really do, and how much it can be able to push out so easily. So we're barely getting to the point of like what these games are going to be capable of doing, and with what the games can be able to handle without skipping a beat. Come on, man, it's gonna be fun and exciting with this console cycle, especially with like what the Xbox Series X and Series S is going to be doing with their games once they start having some like real like
actual first party games. I mean, it's gonna be very exciting to see what they can be able to do, and like where this next level of open world, like these vast worlds that are just gonna be created that you can be able to create and you be able to manipulate into. It's becoming where everything's becoming that so realistic, and just like all the pieces of things that they're missing within the AI for the enemies, the characters itself, the stories itself that are woven. Now you have all these things that have been learned over all this type of years, and it's all culminating to having that 1-to-1 ratio of it just being completely photorealistic, where you can't determine if that's in a game or if that's real life. That's where if you ever get to that point, ooh man, you can do some scary shit with that, and that's where it goes all the way down to the PS9. And one day,
I can't wait.
One day, I'm gonna be 70 some odd fucking years old when that thing comes out. But I love to be able to see what that looks like, and if anyone does not know what I'm talking about, go back to type in PS9 trailer. It is the PlayStation 2's trailer to reveal what the beginning stages of the console cycle is going to do with the PS2, and where the future, it projects what the future is going to look like for video games. And it projects a commercial for the PS9, and at the very, very end of that, it shows the PS2 console come out, and it says PS2, the beginning. I'll never forget that trailer. Never in my life.
I mean, if we go
even
by,
the way it looks,
if we go by like every 5 years, which was the original generational gap, it changed for PS3 because of the economic downturn. But if we go by that, I mean, it's only 20 years away.
I mean, the way that we're looking at it now, I mean,
not that bad, right?
Yeah. I guess it's not great, but
it's not good. It's not good.
It's not good. No. But I mean, the game is supposed to come out in 2078. That's what they said. That's the time frame that we're looking at. So,
okay. Well, that's bad.
Yeah. So,
that's bad.
If you do that from where we are now, I mean, you're looking at another 57 years. Okay. So I'm gonna be close to almost 80 years old when that comes out. But that's what PlayStation did, and that's where they were supposed to be projecting that. So it's 57 years now into the future, and
we'll have fun with that game because I'll be dead by then. But
well, you could be virtually, so you never know what's gonna be. You can play these games online or something like that. No, I'm gone.
No. Based on what I know of myself, I'll be dead by then.
Oh my god!
So that's how we'll end it.
Well, that's what you should strive for, man. 2078. That's the year that you should strive into, to be able to see that. Because what if you do an unboxing and you open up that thing, and that the actual console, the what do they call it? The spores tap straight into your adrenal glands. Yeah. So you tap right into it. So it's like, come on.
Back in my day, we had to use controllers to use our navigation. And
go to bed, old man.
Go to bed. Get off my lawn. Yeah. So.
Well, one day.
Anyway.
But in the meantime, we'll just be enjoying Demon Souls. Hopefully, we won't be just talking about this game entirely all the time, but the stream itself will kind of alleviate some of that time. So this podcast has been exclusively all about that, just because of our excitement of this actual game, and showing the gameplay along with this. It would give a great illustration of what we're talking about. So I'll incorporate that along with the podcast itself. So
right, and you thought it was going to only last an hour. It's been 2.5, and we figured out a way to make it last longer.
Exactly,
like we always do.
I mean, but that's the idea of this. This game is barely even. We're barely just scratching a little bit of this, and then not until we actually start playing this actual game. When I start playing this game even further, there's more that I want to actually talk about. There's going to be elements within the game that I'm going to want to actually explore and talk about. So
we haven't
this
got
is
to the
not
second
this is not the end
boss
of it,
yet, right?
No, I'm not even there yet.
Oh, here we go. All right,
exactly.
There we fucking go. What? It was
so
the
this
and here
we go. Well, thank you everybody for listening, for keeping up with us. This the old man talk about a game that's been out for a very long time.
Yeah.
A very long time, and one person finally gets their hands and finally actually plays that. But
Finally.
I mean, it's really just the fact that having the console itself is just the thing. And honestly, having the actual console was something that my brother got me, and I've been able to utilize this actual console and being thankful that I even have the ability to have something like that. So I really do appreciate even just having this console itself, because I mean it's still very difficult to be able to find, and people that can still get it, I mean, shit, good luck
Till
if you
next
still
year.
could.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's been the hardest thing to be able to find. But my brother got that for me, and he surprised me with it, and I've been blown away by being able to use this thing. But it's like now I'm finally like utilizing its actual the game to its fullest, and this game in particular is just kind of showcasing that. So everybody, look forward to the stream. I'll let everybody know once I actually start doing that. So we'll have that along with the game, so you can be able to kind of follow along with us. So, well, thank you everybody for listening. We'll leave it at that for now. There's definitely more pieces that we want to actually start talking about, especially with this game. There's so many pieces to this puzzle. So we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Smoke weed every day.